I like it, I like it. I realized that, problem, ran away. I quickly took my shoes. I did not even, immediately it came, I was already noticing the, the childishness and all. And I asked me, like, how old are you first? I said, when I was like, let's say, like this time last year, my level of maturity was not this shallow. I was like, life is, it was just, all those times I maybe say, they're just, age, they just didn't really grow past. I said, oh, sorry, I can't date. He said, why? I said, one, you're younger than me in age. And secondly, your maturity is questioned. He said, hey, I will grow now. I said, I know you can grow.
He will grow.
No, I never have issue with him growing. So where I have the issue is that when I come to your family, there's going to be major problems.
Yeah.
Because the very first instance, okay, according to him, I don't look my age. I agree. But I don't agree again. Why I don't agree again is that my age, I say it any day, any time. So when your mommy, I'm talking to your mommy, I can tell him that, you're 90, and mommy will be like, okay, you're 90 something. Oh, yeah, you're that. Then you just start, I don't have that, I don't have that luxury of patience to want to deal with people who feel like, oh, our son is younger than you.
Yeah.
That stigma kind of.
Yes.
I give kudos to women that could do it. I don't know if I can. So I don't look out for younger men to see me. One told me, he was tall and some I know he was doing, was trying to do fatherly figure. I said, okay, calm down. I know you're a fatherly figure. But I don't do. So there's category.
Yeah.
Now if I had agreed to go for that younger guy, my voice is very loud.
Yeah.
I'm very vocal. So normal, this is how I speak. But because he's younger than me, I will not be conscious. Let him not think that it's because I'm older than he does, I'm acting that way. I don't have strength. I want to be me. But it was like, I don't have issue with that. I say, I have issue with it. I can see the issue plastered in front of my face. So I won't. Same thing goes for men. Yeah. If you want to go for a woman, I think you should have your priorities. And don't go to the lowest priority to be your first. If it's beauty and no brain, you choose. Do you get? If it's beauty, brain, character, there's a way to search. The same way men are searching, as the same way women are ugly looking at you.
Will they wash our eye to check well?
I know I cannot marry a ugly man because I'm not too fine. My children cannot come back and be cursing me in the nearest picture. I used to tell my mom, why didn't you check my father's study and tell they don't used to get fair? Yes, you were fair, but you need to go and marry a black man. Now they know there's no fair person in his life.
Why are you not blaming the old man? I don't understand. What is this? What is this? Well, you come to think of it. Have you not noticed that mothers are very close to their male child? And there are some male children that have actually grown up to get married, but they still cling to their mother's advice.
Be specific. Say mama's boy. Cling.
No, I know they talk now. Man don't come look like me. You understand?
My mommy said I should not be giving you mother.
You see that part? See, I actually dated somebody. Okay, let's be true to ourselves. I actually dated somebody that always aligns with the mother. I don't have issues with you, listening to your mom. Your mom has to let you, like she advises you. Come on, you are grown, for crying out loud. It gets some certain things when they're not supposed to tell you. But any small thing, my mommy said, I say, wait till be this.
Okay, so now I think there's negative and positive to it. So in which way, in which context is this your person?
People, they know they look the negative and positive context.
Okay, so if the mother is actually a good person, that the say is something to prosperous to both parties. I know a friend who married a mama's boy. Presently now my friend get mother, not the guy. Okay. To the point that if you hear them argue, if you hear their cause of argument, is that, why is my mom showing favorism to you as my wife? Am I not the son?
Wow.
Mommy, who did you give birth to? Do you understand?
Yeah.
And when she had a certain conversation with us, girls now when we talk, she said something. She said, yes, I noticed he was a mama's boy. From the because he said the very first statement he told her when he said, hi, pretty, because my mom already said I must not bring home a ugly girl. But then she paused. She said, at that point, she wanted to react, but something just told her, hold on. And she held back what she wanted to say. And she said, oh, thank God my own mother said, give birth to a pretty girl. because it's not easy to produce something fine. She said that your mom must be very fine. I would like to meet your mom. I'd like to meet your family. Like, I don't even know your name. Say, okay, calm down. Then introduction came in.
Yeah.
Then you notice when the guy calls, be like, oh, I almost forgot checking up on you, but my mom always warned me that when you're serious with a woman, you always don't allow communication to be off. It must be on top of your game. Be like, okay, at least your mama teach you well. See, and then they started growing. And in 6 months, this guy was talking about marriage. Because of this mommy thing, she was still very skeptical. She said then she noticed when she met the mother was someone who is genuinely just felt like there is a pattern in the guys for this family where they had issues in marriage. So she's trying to be of a positive influence on her son to have a better marriage.
Okay.
And it took her like 8 months before she met and even find out this part why the mother had so much influence. She said the very first day the guy told her, she never said yes. So the guy don't call him mama.
I don't think this thing works for every other male child.
Do you get?
Do you know, I noticed, I've seen a particular guy that is always close to the mom and always listens to the mom's advice. So there was this lady he wanted to marry, and the mother was like, oh no, I'm not going to allow you to get married.
Why? No, I go ask my mama now. Mama, why?
So
my mom told us not to marry some tribal.
So let me let you know. Right now, the guy is not still married.
And that might not be the cause of the problem.
And
it might actually be.
And he really liked and he really loved that lady. So right now, the man is not married.
Did you try to find out why?
Tradition now. Not basically tradition. The same because of, where the person is from. The guy is from this place, the lady is from this place. And the mom was like, oh, I'm not going to allow you to marry somebody from this tribe. But why does tribe has to determine love?
Nah, it does.
It's crazy.
My love, it does. You know why? I found out very early in life.
Yeah. When
my mom, I remember then vividly, she called up. We didn't even know what we were talking, and she said, he was not married from, he was not married from, he was not married from. Okay.
But why is he always like that?
Wait, hold on now.
Why?
No. Then my only other sister, being the strong-headed girl that she was, she married a guy who is partially from a part of one of the parts my mom highlighted for us not to get married to. So they've been married for 16 years now. Yeah, 16. My immediate elder sister.
Wow.
16 thereabout. Is it 16 or 15? Can't remember again. I think 2011, 2010 or 11. That was when she got married. Yeah. So then, when some things happen now, my sister will be like, my mother told me. Okay, so then, when my sister finally came home with that guy, yes, his father is not even a Nigerian. That's her husband. Yeah. But the mother is a Nigerian, and she's from that part of where my mama even they point that particular part, so that particular region. My mom did an highlight of character peculiar to that particular part of Nigeria. Like they do this, they do this, they do this, they do this, they do this. And truly she was right. So when my sister finally came home with the guy and found out that the mom is from that part, my mom said, yes. And ironically, the guy was even trained in that part. Then my mom said, these are things you will face. Now there is a clause in my family. Once you don't marry, still they do your part. They don't do
divorce.
I come back
and we go back
so
again.
they will lecture you well before marriage. There are so many counsels class you will go for. They'll talk about pros and cons, things that could happen, how to settle it, how to go about situations want to escalate, where and how to go about it. My family are like town crier meeting. Any something they can call meeting tire.
Don't be smarting. I always have that kind of family. Like when any little thing, everybody go gather.
Everybody go gather.
Palo especially.
Everybody go gather. So then my sister, now my mom is late, and when some things happen and she's ranting to me, I just tell her, I say, say that party married. So calm down. The irony of it was that I met before that after my sister's married, I still didn't meet people from that part favor. I kind of effectively avoid people from that area of Nigeria. Wow. Then at a certain time, I met a particular woman, and she alone changed my narrative of that particular part. And the day we had that conversation, I told her that, do you know that people she said, even she that is from that town, she cannot marry from our village. Now, so do you get? So when you're young, you're just growing. That's why in my adage, they will say where an adult sees, it will take a younger generation to climb tree. And even with your climb, you will still not see that extent. Experience as shaping some knowledge. So it's not left for your mother if she's a good person or a bad person. Because sometimes they use it in an evil way. Even when my sister finally brought a guy from that region, my mom didn't say, okay, because she was just like, you ready to face this? These are likable things you will see. Are you willing? My sister said yes. And the guy said, so sometimes when things become too harsh for her, she reminds her husband, she says, you know, my mother told me that your tribe is like this. Wow. And he told me you will be a better version. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, you calm down. I know that sometimes I can be so headstrong. But, because, you know, it's one thing for you to be able to discuss something with someone. Yeah. Another thing for you to have people that they don't hear. Yeah. Like, nothing wants to say, I'm not ready to listen. Oh, my God. I met a guy recently from a certain tribe. That's the very first time I was going to meet someone from that tribe. And the very first line of what he said to me, and I was like, I don't hear this thing for social media before, say, people from this place are like this, so but I've never been opportune to meet them. And we became friends. We just talked, just friends, just casual friends. And I told him, I said, are they always here for social media, say your tribe, they like this. The guy said, not true. Me say, I know, so I get them. You get. So now, my mom didn't even mention that tribe for us as a non-marriageable tribe. But I know, so I'm not sure I want to cross. I used to say that I can marry an Igbo guy. Okay. My very first was an Igbo man. And I don't think I regret dating him. Okay. bring out your clock. And I also dated a Yoruba guy that I really enjoyed the relationship. Okay. So then he brought me to the part that, but when I did not, all the outside guy approached me, I said no. And my reason was very plain. Why? You see that their pattern, that their tribe thing, I don't have the strength. You know, one thing I asked a very good northern guy that approached me, because it was, you know, everybody from my lodge, they say, I'm sorry, this guy like you, this guy like. I said, I could see he likes me. But you know where, you don't even know whether that's where love is. No love there. I now asked him a very simple question. But they can actually be love. They are loving people. They are loving people, but now for person they get strength. I asked him just one question, and both of us decided that. That was because initially it felt like I was proving too difficult. Because he was a good guy, handsome, good looking. They're fine, and normally, we know decent and all. And, you know, he's very fluent. He's not the local northern guys now. Yeah. He's the educated one that speaks so fluently. So whenever I come to my village, hi, how you doing? See, hello, whatever. We just be gisting. And I said, you like me? I know. He said, like, he doesn't even know what's... Like, sometimes he asks himself that, why he's so keen about this lady, that this is the first time he's interested in a lady that's not even northern at all. I said, oh, that's good. I said, but can you marry me? He said, I'm not sure if I want to marry girl when it be northern girl. I said, okay, I like that. I said, so I don't date without marriage and visibility. I might still see visibility and we still end up marrying, no. But it's a question I ask you from onset. I want to know your perception. And he said, oh, that's true. I said, so. That question where you ask is very important. You know, a lot of people go into relationship, they don't ask, what is the purpose? No, now blind man, where they follow blind man. They say relationship, 1 year, when I see they talk, 2 years. Wait till with this. So when some things are happening, you know, you refer back to questions you've asked in early days before that relationship commenced. Yeah. I remember asking you this XYZ, this was your response. So what's up now? It's not desperation, but have I ever looked desperate? I know. One person asked me this question and he said, are you sure this guy want to marry like this? I said, if God's willing, I would love to have my own man, someone that see me, they even, you know, see me they prepare us on social media these days. That honeymoon is honeymoon after everything that they talk. For people who say the relationship no go last, you know, the guy they break people's heart. Hello, he mended our own heart. See, the truth is that, you know, social media can never forget. That's one thing with them. They talk too much. And the truth is that when the whole, you know, saga came, the whole talk about Simi came around, I actually liked the way she handled the situation. She didn't really talk much. She did not really talk much. She's matured now. Actually, that's what matured people do. And those that I was like, see, this thing is in two contexts. I don't know how people are seeing this, but it is in two contexts. You can see 9 as 6. Another person is seeing 6 as 9.
So maybe you
but
feel
wait,
say,
which one they really right? I want like the one they really. The person we right, I'm going to ask her which one did you really right?
See,
is it 6 or is it 9?
I just feel she, as a young lady growing up, doing those tweets were just how will I put it? Maybe from an how will I put it? A young girl, you're coming up.
Well,
when you're growing, you have a lot of things that
doesn't justify. So I think it's a lesson learned.
But it's a lesson learned.
It's a lesson learned, not just to her, but to everyone out there. That regardless of what you think, even when you feel it's harmless, you should always try to listen to whatever you're tweeting as a person.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we're still talking about Chike and talking about what his mom told him. So it's his choice. As he talked before, saying marriage is a plaything that he cannot, he's not sure that he wants to go into marriage.
You know what they say? I'm on they shame me. You can see the down.
All right, let's go to our next gist, because trust me, I don't have issues with, mother and son and mother. My own is that, please, if you have mothers that advise you as a male child, it's good that they advise you, but don't be every advice you go take. You need to ask God, your maker. It's very, very important. All right, let's move over to our next story, and we're talking about Cubana chief priest. So Nigerian socialite Cubana chief priest was reportedly met with a hostile reaction from a crowd during a recent stage appearance in Abuja. So viral video circulating online showing the celebrity businessman being loudly booed while attempting to address or perform for the audience, with some attendees chanting dismissive remarks that drowned out his presence on stage. So seriously, the incident, which has seriously sparked widespread discussion online, it's believed to be linked to public sentiment surrounding his perceived political affiliations rather than his performance alone. So while the video confirms, a lot of people are still talking about it. But please, before I even say anything I want to say, I would love to see this video, because in this video was really funny. I think he went to a particular place to do his song. A lot of people know his song, and he got there, with all the hypes and everything, and the crowd was really, really something else. The way they booed him out of the stage was the fact that they said nobody know your papa. Now it shocked me past.
No, but I don't know him papa now.
He reached like that.
No, but I don't know him papa now. Do you know his daddy? No, I'm just asking a question. It's innocent. Do they know his father? Do you know his father?
I don't know his father, actually.
Nobody knows his father. Nobody knew your papa, daddy. Moving on.
But Jesus, no, Miss Mom, moving on. So recently, I even wanted to talk about Helen.
Okay. I like that part.
So
I like that part. Isn't it? Pastor, they don't catch you. Pastor, they don't see you.
Oh my God. So Helen has been coming out, she has been dancing. So Helen has been dancing recently, dancing and saying, that he has agreed to do the DNA test. So she has been dancing online.
But wait, the more no lie, without DNA, even the blind can see.
But
and he didn't deny having something to do with her.
I blame the woman.
You blame her that what?
I blame her.
How?
See, I don't know what's up between she and Cubana chief priest. Let's be sincere here. But dragging him for a long time, person go see finding papa. He looks like he doesn't even care.
No, you have to care. I don't blame
No, he looks like he doesn't care. So we should care herself.
You are in Nigeria.
She should go on with her life. Even the wife, Cubana chief priest don't come out. I think she made a statement before, talking about she made a statement of talking about nobody can take her place where she is.
The lady did not say want to take her place. They say take responsibility for your child. And I don't think that's too much to ask.
But he doesn't look like he wants the child.
You have to want. No, you don't subscribe to wanting a child. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't enter your letter. Now you were ready. Now you go ready. And now Pikin don't come out from the copulation. You have to be responsible.
Now she will open leg. Now they blame.
I don't blame her.
Like I blame her.
It takes two to tango. So I don't blame her. No.
Because
she did not impregnate herself.
If you had not wanted something, why then you do it?
He did not say he did not want something. He even gave her promise, empty promise. She don't say Nigerian man get empty promises versus.
Oh my God.
They played that. They played that for a fool. So it wasn't entirely her fault actually. But I'm not interested in their saga. The only thing I think I feel pained is the innocent child between this old drama and to think that social media Nothing they fade do. In the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that video will still come back to haunt that child.
All right, let's take some comments and see what people have actually talked about Cubana's chief priest video that has been circulating online about a place he went to perform, and you know the crowd was actually they went another way, you know, putting negative reactions outside. So let's take some comments and see what our comment section
I can imagine
for us.
Can you imagine how hot the comment section?
So Confidence said, at least he will understand that social media is part of real life. God, I beg you.
Confidence food equipment. Which food get confidence when you
Oh my God. Then I am Onya said, this guy wait up, we no send your papa. Wahala oh.
Well, now question the guy asked.
Wahala oh.
But we no said, no, why you not go send the papa? You know his daddy before.
Then if official said, let us make sure they all go down and remain dear. Hey, wow. And Zamina of Life said, we no send your papa in care at some bullshit. Wow. Let's take more comments. A lot of people are talking about these incidents about Cubana chief priest, but seriously.
Jesus, I like this one. Otigoma says, guys, I am his papa. I no be me send them. Pascal. Pascal. Your daddy said he did not send you.
Oh my God. Then Quip Hipsy said, you they use my Abuja people play. We no send your papa. Okay.
Well.
And Chuksni side said, child.
Chook sunny side.
But come to think of it though, Uni, if you see the way they booed, he was not even asking questions about Abuja. Abuja, what's going on? Hey, this one shocked me. And you know when that time when someone wants to dance to your song, you know before when he comes out to, you know, to sing, a lot of people will be like, oh, Cubana Chief, oh my God. I was shocked with the stuff I saw.
Main take out. That's to tell you that Nigerians should not to be trifled with. Nigerians can be so united when they want to destroy something.
Seriously.
I pray they bring this unity to build the nation.
Actually.
That me, I don't have issue with two people booing Pascal. Because his daddy has come out to say that innocent down.
Oh,
are you sure you are his daddy? You are the one that said it to allegedly. Now you talk am Odigoma. I'm not there in the house, so now you talk say you be papa or say you don't send them.
It is well.
Because I don't know if that's true or not. But on the more sincere note, I don't know why that happened.
Yeah.
But I feel like every individual has a right to their life and how they live it. It's ironically how in Nigeria we want to live people's life for them. That's like a Nigerian syndrome thing. But if it's in the good way, we sit down here, they wait. Well, we don't know how he's going to react to this. This has happened. I'm sure it's actually very embarrassing for him, for his brand. You know, in Yoruba would say, dog, we see where they shake tape before. Can't see the back.
Burna Boy, wherever Burna Boy is right now, he go to jubilate, but I don't want to say anything.
Wait, take your time, oh. Please don't bring Burna into this. I don't, please,
I don't want to say.
Please,
I'm just saying.
You're saying war. You're saying Burna war. Why, it's Pascal that they boo.
This is where we draw the curtain. Thank you so much for joining us on the show Spotlight. Remember, if you're going viral or going global, please tell your story with heart. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles at VOPTV Live to subscribe to our channels for more updates. And until next time, I am Precious Akumanu, aka call me Prezi. And you know I didn't do this alone. I was here with my darling
baby girl Oyindamola Olokoto.
All right, thank you for staying with us. See you next time. Bye.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
Hey guys, it's your girl Arikel the Dimples, aka Risky Baby, and you are watching VOP TV. Do not go anywhere. Where are you going to? Stay here. Calm down. Stay here if you're not.
What's up, everybody? Who's Arco here, and I'm hanging out on VOP TV. Keep it locked, don't go nowhere. Let's go.
Hi everyone, my name is Yvonne Jagade. You are watching VOP TV, and don't change the dial, because I said so.
Who's happy to post them and who's happy the most? Because when shit goes south, y'all be happy to ghost. When you make a wrong move, they be happy to roast. But be careful when you win, who's not happy to toast. I am VJ Adams, and you rock with VOP TV. Don't move.
Hi people, Bisola here, and you are watching VOP TV. Mwah.
Shout out to VOP TV. It's so good to have you on the red carpet of AV. Love you all. Wishing you all the best.
Here's a shout out to VOP TV. It's your girl April Oshidikwe at the AV premiere. You know what it is.
Hi everyone, my name is Linda Ejiofor Suleiman, and I'm live at the EV premiere. Keep watching VOP TV.
I want to say hello to my Italian friends. I want to say them that Nigeria is the best country in the world, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, my name is Tomo Atebe. I'm an actor, and you guys are live on VOP TV. Keep it locked, because I said so.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is your girl Phil Storms out here, and this is a big shout out to VOP TV.
Hi guys, my name is Charles Bourne.
My name is Lydia Lawrence Nze.
Please keep watching Voice of the People Television. Love ya.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens.
We bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is African News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
For the extraordinary. Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Arpehon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People Television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please the sport.
And it's Hakim Ziyech who puts the
VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
International Day of Happiness is a global observance celebrated every year on March 20th. It was established by the United Nations in 2012 to recognize the importance of happiness and well-being as universal goals for people around the world. The day encourages government and communities worldwide to focus not just on financial success, but on mental health, social connection, and overall quality of life.
A lot of people are not happy. But if we talk about individually, because if we keep considering that the situation of the country is what dictates the happiness of people, then definitely there would have been a lot of people that would have been dragged into depression. Generally, Nigerians, we are very special people. In spite of the difficulty, yes, some people might state that they are not happy. But check their life deep down. One way or the other, they find something to keep them happy so that they can keep going till they get a better country. And what the government can do to help the people is to make things easier. First thing first, to regulate anything that has to do with food. If hungry is taken out of poverty, in fact, the rest is easy.
I can't say I'm happy when the world is in trouble. The fight in Iraq and Iran and Israel and America. One cannot say it's happy because that is affecting us here. Fuel has increased. So many things. The life is getting more hard than before because of the war. So I can't say I'm happy. I can't be happy for that.
Happiness is when you're feeling, when good things are happening around you and you're feeling how you...
Well, hello and welcome to the African News on Voice of the People Television. I am David Edwin. Before beginning the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website. It is www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. We begin the African News from the story where a wave of outrage has trailed the United Kingdom's position on slavery reparation as African workers under the umbrella of the International Trade Union Confederation, ETOC Africa, condemned comments by a British lawmaker opposing a United Nations resolution on the issue. In an open letter to UK Conservative MP for North West Essex, Kemi Badenoch, the organization accused the British government of failing to fully acknowledge the enduring consequences of slavery and colonial exploitation on African economies and workers. Signed on behalf of 18 million African workers in Lomé, Togo, ETOC Africa General Secretary Akato Joel Odige called on the UK to take a leadership role in advancing restitution and addressing historical injustices rather than what he termed an indifferent stance. In another development, some United Nations and United States House lawmakers, joined by other African subcommittee Democrats, have warned that the State Department's plan to end life-saving assistance to 7 African nations would put millions of lives at risk, threaten regional stability, and undermine U.S. national security. This was contained in a letter to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, by a ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Gregory Meeks, and ranking member of the African Subcommittee, Sarah Jacobs, backed by others. The affected countries are Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Malawi, Mali, Niger, Somalia, and Zimbabwe. The letter reminded Rubio of his earlier insisting that no one has died due to the foreign aid cuts. However, it stated that the situation on the ground tells a different story, with life-threatening hunger, malnutrition, and disease outbreak continuing unabated, resulting in as many as 1 million preventable deaths in 2025. It noted that further aid cuts would undoubtedly result in even more preventable deaths, with the UN estimating that 15 million people in Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Mali, and Niger are in need of life-saving aids. In the meantime, new data by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, that's the UBOS, on multidimensional poverty measure have highlighted gaps in health insurance, sanitation, and living standard in spite of progress in reducing income poverty.
UBOS statistician Elemia Mahundogwa revealed that 27 out of every 100 Ugandans are experiencing multi-dimensional poverty. He highlighted that among the 13 indicators, 53 in every 100 persons are deprived of health insurance, closely followed by 52 in every 100 who are deprived of cooking fuel and technology. He added that the least deprivation is seen in households that have experienced deaths in at least 12 months, affecting about 2 in every 100 persons. The MPM seeks to understand poverty monetary deprivations. The UBOS fifth monograph on the multi-dimensional poverty index marked a significant shift in how poverty is measured in Uganda beyond traditional income-based methods. Moving on to other stories, and still in Uganda, public attention has been drawn to the presence of a Ugandan presidential jet in the United States without official explanation amid questions over Lady Janet Museveni's whereabouts. The authorities have remained silent on the purpose of the trip, just as there is no official indication linking the aircraft's movement to the schedule or whereabouts of the First Lady and Education Minister Janet Museveni. Flight tracking data shows that the government-owned Gulfstream G550, used for VIP and state transport, departed Uganda and transited through Cape Verde before landing in Savannah, Georgia. Publicly available records indicate the aircraft has remained on the ground since its arrival on Saturday. Moving on to other stories, Eastern Cape Premier Lubabalu Mawuyene and the national government have called for calm following a violent protest in Kugumpu over the alleged correlation of a Nigerian Igbo king. The march is intended to deliver a memorandum of demand to the mayor's office, drew residents, civil society groups, traditional rulers, and political parties, with protesters arriving from as far as KwaZulu-Natal. There were clashes with the police, looting and arson during the demonstrations, resulting in the racism would not be tolerated. Meanwhile, Kenya has kicked off a drive to register new voters ahead of next year's general elections, with youths using TikTok reels and music to shake off apathy among their peers. The 30-day mass voter registration drive, launched by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, aims to enlist no fewer than 2.5 million new voters in its first phase. The commission says it hopes to add 6.3 million new voters, that's about 70% of them youths, before next year's election. In 2024, a wave of protests led by the so-called Gen Z swept the country after President William Ruto announced tax hikes, reportedly denting his popularity among young people. They escalated into wider unrest over corruption and rights abuses and left over 100 persons dead and dozens other missing, according to rights group. However, while the protests have faded away, many youths remain disillusioned with the Ruto's administration, which came to power promising to uplift the young and the poor. And from Kenya, move straight to Ghana, where President John Dramani Mahama of Ghana has told the international community, especially partners, to respect the country's position on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer issues. stating that its public policy is shaped by its legal traditions, cultural values, and societal consensus. Mahama explained that the issue of LGBTQ rights is a motive that all over the world they are not completely settled in terms of their nuances and arguments. He added that even in the United States, there is still the discourse on LGBTQ plus rights, with 26 states still having legislation that restricts LGBTQ plus rights. President Mahama, who spoke during an interview on his just-ended official visit to the U.S., where he led preparatory advocacy at the United Nations, said the country's international partners must understand that public policy is grounded in legal traditions, cultural context, and social consensus. And from Ghana, we'll move straight to Egypt, where Egypt's President Abdel al-Sisi urged United States President Donald Trump to stop the Iranian war, saying only he could do so, and warned that fears of oil prices going above $200 a barrel were not exaggerated. Sisi said at the Egypt Energy Show 2026 conference in Cairo that Trump is capable of doing so and should do it. Long a recipient of U.S. military aid and support from wealthy Gulf countries, Egypt has also condemned the Iranians' attack on Gulf Arab states and pushed diplomatic efforts to avoid a wider regional war. Sisi told the conference that the war will trigger twin shocks of supply shortages and price rises, the full extent of which have yet to be felt. He stated fears that targeted energy facilities, whether production or refineries, will have very serious repercussions for the global economy and for prices. Still on conflict resolution, Congo's army has announced the start of a disarmament push against a militia linked to Rwanda's 1994 genocide in what would be a key step towards implementing a United States brokered peace deal with neighboring Rwanda. The Deputy Chief of Staff of the Congolese Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Nduru Chalingoza, told newsmen he has been dispatched to the northeastern city of Kisangani to launch preparations for operations targeting FDLR. He stated that they must hand over their weapons willingly or by force, adding that the first phase would focus on persuading fighters to surrender as there is no need for bloodshed. The move to disarm the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda comes 2 weeks after Congolese and Rwandan officials met in Washington to agree steps to revive the agreement signed last June, and just weeks after the U.S. sanctioned Rwanda's defense forces over their backing of the M23 rebel movement. Rwanda has long demanded that Congo neutralizes the group as a condition for any lasting peace. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. We'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more in the studio with us is Barrister Darlington Agumo. Barrister Darlington is a lawyer and also a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you and thank you for joining the conversation.
Afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm fine, very well. Thank you, Barrister. How are you doing as well?
I'm okay.
All right, then. Also joined us virtually to make sense of these stories and more, virtually is all the way from Uganda, Barrister Edward Okwaro Matakinye. Barrister Edward is a human rights activist and also a legal practitioner in Uganda. Barrister Edward, a very good afternoon to you and thank you for joining the conversation this afternoon.
A very good afternoon, David and Council Agumo in the studio.
Thank you so very much for joining. Also joined us virtually all the way from Kenya is Professor Exen Iraki. Prof is the professor at the University of Nairobi in Kenya. Prof, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining the conversation. Okay, I understand that Professor Iraqi hasn't joined the conversation, but we'll expect him to join in the course of the conversation. Well, let me start off this story and, of course, this analysis segment from you, Barrister Edward. These conversation coming from, I'm talking about Congo now, announcing that the start of this disarmament push against the militia linked to the Rwandan 1994 genocide is a step towards implementing the United States brokered peace deal with neighboring Rwanda. Do you think that as it stands, this peace deal is going to see the light of the day? Because you will recall that this peace deal has been signed since June 2025 in the United States, and of course has brokered by a joint effort of the UAE and Washington. But even after then, there's been several infighting in the DRC. Do you think, like I said earlier, this particular move by the Deputy Chief of Staff, when it comes to the armed forces, the Congolese armed forces, you think this is going to possibly put a full stop to the several attacks by the RSF in the DRC?
Again, good afternoon to you, David, and my senior counsel in the studio. Just as we look at the analysis of the stories in Africa, we have looked at this several times, and these are things which have featured so many times in our studios, in our discussions. So it is just a repetition of many times we have talked about the stories concerning Africa, concerning Rwanda, Congo, disarmament of militias. This is just me, I call it a business which has not been achieved at all, because these are things which are repeating. Because if you look at the time the genocide took place, which is now decades, so the war, the people are not getting peace as actually supposed to be. So you get that kind of engagements, you get that politically people will actually be irrelevant. So I look at it as a political part of a play game, and also if there is where people are actually getting any kind of sureties, you get that they are limited. So I don't see it like taken very serious, including even as Africans. You have never seen this taken as a serious issue. We have conflicts within our territories, and you get that these are issues which will never end. So to me, it is either there or not, because it is something which has been talked about.
All right, now I'm still going to stay with you, Barrister Edward. And the reason why I'm staying with you is the fact that, speaking about a brokered peace, you would recall President Felix Tshisekedi in 2019 also had a brokered peace with this same faction over the same situation up until the UAE Washington coming together deal. This conversation about the level of insecurity that have, been seen in the DRC is quite alarming. But concerns from my own end that I'm trying to bring up to you now is how much of the African Union statement are we seeing in this peace deal? Because again, it's looking more like African problem don't have African solution. What do you make of this as well?
Exactly, David, as you have put it, African problem doesn't have the African solution. We have a very serious body which would actually be relying on, which does not get concerned on issues concerning Africa. And you get that when these issues, implementation of all activities, when it comes like peace talks, comes like probably agreements which are actually broken by these people, you get that there is nothing like you can realize what we call the implementation of this agreement. So you have just had Trump and Rwanda actually entering an agreement, which I don't know it is just confusing. So me, I look at it like there is a game behind whatever these parties actually looking at. There's something they're actually trying to look at. You know, you'll have to look at the what am I gaining out of this? So there must be something which parties are looking at, which for me, Africa should be actually very concerned, and our bodies are totally redundant and sleeping.
All right, then. Let me bring this conversation back to the studio here. Well, Barrister, looking at this situation, like I said earlier, 2019, there was a peace agreement that was brokered by the same president with this militia. And of course, there were promises of disarmament by these militias. Somehow, nothing happened. And just last year, Donald Trump, by, of course, the help of the UAE, clearly brokered another peace with this armed group. Do you think that following this promise of disarmament, is there a possibility that no lesson was learned from 2019 up till date? And then was the root cause of the situation attended to by the Donald Trump administration's brokered peace, as it were?
There cannot be any peaceful solution to African problem from our side. It can never happen.
Why do you say so?
Because the people that are trying to bring peace to you, they are part of the problem. How do you think they would want Africa to be in peace and make progress? They know that these things that are happening is to their own advantage. And so they will continue to fuel it from behind in the guise of peace overtures. They will not. In fact, I blame some African states for going into negotiation with terrorists. I have never agreed to such a venture. It has never worked because these guys are like blackmailers.
But then again, Barrister, sorry to butt in here. In 2001 to 2019, during the Joseph Kabila's administration, he was accused of not having conversations with these militias. And again, allowing them have so much free day within the state. So if you're going to be having issues with the fact that Phyllis Tshisekedi is having a conversation with this militia, then when do you think this unrest is going to come to an end in the DRC?
Look, when you have a weak leader, that is when this type of nonsense happens. Even the terror, they know. When they see a weak leader in office, they exploit his position.
So this is about weak leadership?
There is no other reason. I'm telling you, if you are doubting me, look at Donald Trump. The way that guy is acting, can any terrorist come close to American soil? Is it possible? You know it can never happen. Or in Russia. So you have African leaders who are just local champions, who are only strong when it comes to intimidating and humiliating their people. But when the real terrorists will enter their country to show their force, you will see that these leaders are just nowhere to be found. They can't even confront the terrorists. And so the terrorists will become bolder. You know, they will begin to flex muscles. And they will now run to the West for help. That means you are weak. It's as simple as that.
So how would you assess the role of international actors like the US and, of course, the UAE in shaping Congo's domestic policies, specifically regarding the security and this disarmament conversation that we're having today?
Didn't you hear the condition of Donald Trump when he wanted to broker peace in the DRC? He said he would take their mineral resources for the peace he's trying to broker. Is that not what he said? Even in Ukraine, he wants to take their mineral resources for peace. So that is the exploitation we are talking about. So they wouldn't want the peace to reign. They want it to continue so that they will leverage on it to get your resources. It's as simple as that. I still blame the African leaders or African states who cannot muster the political will, the military might to deal with the terrorists. I still blame them. I don't see anybody who can be more powerful than government. After God, it is government.
But then again, just like the question I asked Barrister Edward in Uganda, What's your position with the not so active path that the African Union is playing in all of this?
They are a toothless bulldog. I've told you severally. They are just there on paper. They are a toothless bulldog. That is what African Union is there for. They can't even rein in some of their members with all the rascality, with all the rubbish they are doing. They can't even talk to them.
Barrister, so we're here to prefer solutions.
Is it terrorists that they can confront?
We're here to prefer solutions. What would you think and say that from this point that African Union can do to tame these people?
There have been talks about United States of Africa. If they can push it and then have at least 1 million man military force, that is the ultimate solution. 1 million man military force. So that anywhere these rascals rear their ugly head, they will deploy them to overrun them within 24 hours. The manpower is not there. Most Africans say they don't even have the personnel. You know, imagine in any African state where there is terrorism, and then the African Union or say United States of African leaders now deploy at least 200,000 strong force against these terrorists. Will they last 24 hours in the battle?
All right then. Well, let me take this conversation to Uganda. Well, Barrister Edward, this conversation about the disarmament of these militias is one that is a major concern for me. Now, considering the intertwined history of DR Congo and Rwanda, how do we navigate the complex geopolitical landscape without compromising the Congolese sovereignty in all of this conversation, really? Plus, the United States of Africa, that, of course, Barrister also spoke about, some have said that the colonies of these countries might just not make this happen. Do you also share that sentiment? And then what do you think as well?
Well, we need to come to the drawing board as Africans. One, we don't have institutions which are actually addressing or giving solutions to our problems. Those are issues we need now first to sit down and address if really we want Africa to realize some of these agreements they break on. You entering into an agreement, it is very important for you to look at your foundation first. So Africa does not have a foundation which is actually capable of handling some of these issues. So we all depend on what is actually given to us. We accept spoon feeding 24 hours as the children, which is not good. We have leaders who have stayed in power for long, but they have never, you ask such a leader the solution for actually these issues which we are talking about. They are failing to give solutions. So the only way now we could actually look at is for us to go back as Africans. Can we not actually engage ourselves with the foreigners, with the outsiders, and now agree and say, we fail and let's look at where we fail and address these issues. And we can actually manage. Africa is rich enough with the actual experts. We have technocrats who can actually handle these matters. But it's just that when leadership calls, everybody fails on the other hand. We only think of our own, we think of our stomachs, we think of very simple and useless things which will not actually make Africa grow far away. So that is what I think would be actually thinking as Africa.
All right, then.
And if is.
All right, then. Now, I'm still going to stay with you. And of course, I'm going to bring stories coming from Uganda. Interestingly, there has been a major statistics that are just popped up from the Ugandan Bureau of Statistics on multidimensional poverty measure. And of course, it has highlighted gaps in health insurance, sanitation, and living standards in spite of progress in reducing income poverty. Well, this situation about multidimensional poverty is clear, with, of course, facts revealing that 27 out of 100 Ugandans are experiencing multi-dimensional poverty. What's your position with these situations? Now, 13 indicators said 53 of every 100 persons are deprived of health insurance, and of course, closely monitored and followed by 52 in every 100 who are deprived of cooking fuel and, of course, technology. What's your position with this as well? And lump it up with the fact that the private jet of the presidency is found in the U.S., with questions rising about why it's found in the U.S. without any official over there.
Maybe flagging that out straightforward, it is the arrogance of the kind of a president we have as Ugandans. Uganda thinks that it can behave like countries like probably Iran, can behave like countries who can never be touched. So Uganda is one country which does not actually listen to other nations. So looking at Museveni at this point, at the age where he is, it is now us to pray for Uganda, not actually him. So it is unfortunate that the flight like that one can be found in a country without an invitation. And it is a shameful thing to most of the partners of Uganda. So looking at the rate we are talking about, Uganda, we have to accept every Ugandan is poor, apart from the few who have actually benefited in this rule of 40 years plus. You get that Uganda, who only looks at the parameters of security, looking at issues of, maintaining his wealth, but not bothered a lot to look at the situation of its citizens. So you get that citizens are very poor, and on that, you realize that in every maybe 10 Ugandans you meet, you get that 6 of them cannot afford what we are talking about. So Uganda is actually totally facing a rough situation, which may lead to, after Museveni, lead to a very serious a dialogue with other countries which are actually growing, probably near neighbors like Kenya, which actually now the democracy is a bit seen, practiced. Yeah. Nigeria, a bit, some of us admire that probably those are people we shall benchmark with to see that Uganda would also be somewhere. Otherwise, at this point, we are that nation which needs very good help.
Okay, before I bring it back to the studio, I'm still going to stay with you. Now, this data is coming from the backdrop of an election, just concluded election. And of course, we're talking about the same government that have been in power for over 40 years. How much of an impact do you think that this government is going to have on the about over 26% Ugandans who are presently facing multidimensional poverty?
It is actually a discussion we as Ugandans too have. I don't know what the government is planning to do. I'm hearing that the government is investing a lot on the fuel they have, a lot of things, the investments. But for sure, Uganda cannot realize itself until this government gets out of power. And now it is when we have to need to sit down to make sure that things will work. But for now, this government is not going to do anything which will for the citizens of Uganda. There's nothing the government will do. Instead, it's just something which was political, just for purposes of campaigns and what have you, all those words, statements which were issued, all those are just political statements. For now, we are just waiting the time to come that Uganda will be released from all these kind of situations they have gone through. And we know better that God will see us through and we shall be better.
All right, then. Let me bring this conversation back to the studio. Well, Barrister, this quest and, of course, this conversation about multidimensional poverty seems to not just be in Uganda alone. I mean, in Nigeria, approximately 63% of Nigerians are living in multidimensional poverty as well, which includes deprivation in health, education, and standard of living. In Uganda, it is 27%. Now, The figures of population quite differs in this conversation, but what would you say to the fact that governments in power clearly are saying that they are consistently doing several things, and of course policy included, to get the people out of poverty? But the opposite is what we see in data and figures. Judging from what is just coming out from the Bureau of Statistics in Uganda, and of course Nigeria as a case study as well. What's your position?
My position is that Africa is not a good example of a democratic state or continent. Because the beauty of democracy is that the people will periodically choose their leader. Periodically. That means they will change a leader that is not performing. But the case of Uganda is very pathetic, because this is a man who has stayed in office for over 40-something years. That means he has overstayed his welcome. He has overstayed his welcome. What he's doing there in the office is that we can say he's displaying his nuisance value. When a man has gone this far in leadership, you will discover that he's now what we can call in economics diminishing return. He has nothing to offer again. He is retrogressing. And that is why the Ugandans are in the situation they are. And it's a pity, because the man is not going away very soon, except something happens. And that is the lot of African leaders. I have told you here that democracy is not for Africa, because the leaders have messed up democracy. It's no longer what it used to be. In the case of Nigeria, of course, we are 65%. In December, in fact, we are the largest poverty capital of the world. Is that not true? Because of our population. Is that not true? So we are almost on the same distance with Uganda, and that is no thanks to bad leadership. Everybody in the whole world knows that Nigeria is well blessed by God. Natural resources we have. If we begin to exploit it, we'll beat London and New York. We'll beat London and New York in infrastructure and everything. But what happened? Leaders are pocketing our resources. That is why a 210 trillion has been missing from NNPCL. And people are just moving about as if nothing happened. 210 trillion naira missing. A country that can lose that kind of money and they are still existing. Are you telling me they don't have money?
Well, then again, the National Assembly is on that matter with major investigation.
Nothing will come out. The National Assembly, in fact, as long as they are the one doing it, forget it. I have lost hope. I was thinking they will tell EFCC to go in there and do a forensic examination of their books.
Why do you think there hasn't been that level of forensic? That means
they don't want to do anything. Who is in the National Assembly? Is it not APC leaders? Hold on. Who populated the National Assembly? Is it not APC leaders? And this money was missing under APC leadership. So how can they expose themselves? Since they said they're investigating, even the man at NNPC, did you see him in that National Assembly? They invited him, he did not come. David, he refused to come and was giving all manner of excuses. So what makes you think that nothing will come out of it? If their government is serious, they should ask EFCC, because that's their forte, that's their job. That was why they were created. So, what do you think National Assembly will do? Will they take anybody to court? No. But an EFCC will do a thorough job. But they don't want it to be handed over to EFCC. So, the thing is that the problem of Africa was created by Africa and sustained by Africa. And so, except there is a revolution in Africa, these leaders will not listen to you, because the same thing was going on in USSR before the Russian Revolution. Is that not true? The same thing was going on in France until the French Revolution. Their future is being wasted by these evil leaders. That is the truth. Anybody thinking that these guys will just wake up and start doing the right thing. It's a lie. It is a pure lie. They cannot, except something happens to them. That is the only time they will sit up.
All right, but because of time, really, maybe just in 30 seconds, Barrister, the situation surrounding the LGBTQ conversation, where the president of Ghana, and I'm talking about President John Dramani Mahama, clearly saying that, well, the international partners should respect Ghanaians' position on the LGBTQ plus policies, because this has to do with deep cultural value and, of course, legal traditions and societal consensus. What do you make of that as well?
Of course, at least, morally speaking, Africans are trying. There are certain things that they do not tolerate. When the Anglican Union in England decided to go, immoral, the one in Nigeria said, well, we are not going along with you. They separated from them. They say it's ungodly. I don't see how Africa, we have a myriad of problems. You now want to add immorality to it, ungodly culture to it. No, it will be too heavy for us to carry.
And then how would you describe the person of John Dramani Mahama? He's been quite vocal recently. I mean, talking about the reparation recognition, he was the one that championed it.
You are taking over. You say you are the giant of Africa. Meanwhile, you is a giant with a clear feet. Ghana had taken over in good governance, even in good governance.
All right,
this man had to recall his ambassador to Nigeria, who was accused of electoral infractions. Right. His own party man, he pulled him back from Nigeria. So when you see a leader, you don't need to be told. You will see his actions. This man has proved to be a leader in Africa.
All right, then.
Something that Nigeria cannot even try. You can't try it.
Oh, well. Let me take this conversation back to Uganda. And Barrister, because of our time, maybe in 30 seconds, what's your position about the statement made by the president of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, particularly on the LGBTQ plus issues, clearly stating that these policies are shaped by legal traditions, cultural values, and societal consensus? And then what do you also make of the person of John Dramani Mahama and his vocal nature in recent time?
Yes, thank you, David. Our leaders actually do some pronouncements which actually convince us as Africans that we have leaders who are sweet to be in positions of this kind. But unfortunately, they pronounce these statements and they go behind and there are no implementations which are actually sweet for Africans. Africa is actually a continent of moral cultures, and you get the aspirations of young people, the spiritual respect we have in Africa should be respected. But unfortunately, our leaders are actually trying to sell all these gifts which God has given us as with the respect we have as Africans to now different continents, which is not good. So I think it is something we need to praise him, and we pray that it should be a word which will stand for the benefit of Africa. That is what I would actually say.
All right, and thank you so very much, Barrister Edward Okwara Matakinye, legal practitioner in Uganda and also human rights activist in Uganda. Thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Also, big thank you to Barrister Darlington Agumo, legal practitioner as well, and also public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Thank you for being here as well.
My pleasure.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, McKinsey says African bank outspace global peers as revenues top $100 billion. This and more when we return after this break. Please stay with us. We're glad to have you back. It is still the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Consulting firm McKinsey says African banking revenues have topped $100 billion for the first time, with profitability well above the global average. The report on Monday said this highlights the sector's growing economic importance and its concentration in a handful of markets. It noted that banking revenues across the continent reached about $99 billion in 2024 and are estimated to have increased to $107 billion in 2025. According to the firm, returns on equity stood at 19% in 2024 and are expected to ease to 17% this year, compared with the global banking average of about 10%. In spite of the growth, however, McKinsey said revenues remain heavily concentrated, with Egypt, Kenya, Morocco, Nigeria, and South Africa accounting for about 70% of Africa's total banking revenues, and South Africa, the largest market, with about $24.4 billion in customer-driven revenue in 2024. And from that particular story, we'll go straight talking African business. The African Development Bank, that's the AFDB, says the shock of the Middle East conflict to the African economy could be modest, though it worsens an outlook already weakened by debt burden, shrinking aid, and global instability prior to the start of the conflict. AFDB chief economist Kelvin Urama estimated that growth could fall by about 0.2%, provided the war does not last longer than 3 months, but up to a 1.5% decline if the war continues for up to 6 months. His assessment comes as the conflict worsens the impact of low foreign direct investments and reduced official development assistance and financial flows into Africa. In the report compiled with data up to January, the continent's largest multilateral development finance institution projected that the pace of Africa's economic growth would quicken to 4.3% this year and 4.5% in 2027. However, it warned that mounting debt and fiscal pressures are significant headwinds. And to wrap up the African news, we'll go straight talking sports. Ghana Football Association has sacked manager Otto Addo 72 days before the start of the Summer World Cup following a string of poor results. Ghana will open their campaign against Panama on June the 18th before facing England on June the 23rd and Croatia on June the 27th during the World Cup, to be co-hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the United States from June the 11th to July the 19th. Addo's departure followed a 2-1 defeat by Germany in an international friendly in Stuttgart on Monday and a 5-1 thrashing by Austria in Vienna last Friday. Following the Germany game, the Ghana Football Association said it had parted ways with Addo and that his exit was effectively immediately. It added that would communicate the new technical direction of the Black Stars in due course. The Black Stars, who are in the same World Cup group as England, have lost their last 4 games in spite of having Manchester City winger Antoine Semenyo and Tottenham forward Mohamed Kudus, among others. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we're at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react. Understand.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
In a world where power shapes with every headline,
In a nation full of questions,
in a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging one-hour program that brings political discourse into focus.
I am Chukwuma Okoro.
Political Lens, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Join us.
Hey guys, it's your girl Arika the Dimples, aka Risky Baby, and you are watching VOP TV. Do not go anywhere. Where are you going to? Stay here. Calm down. Stay here if you're not.
What's up, everybody? Uzo Arco here, and I'm hanging out on VOP TV. Keep it locked, don't go nowhere. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne Jagade. You are watching VOP TV, and don't change the dial, because I said so.
Who's happy to post them and who's happy the most? Because when shit goes south, y'all be happy to ghost. When you make a wrong move, they be happy to roast. But be careful when you win, who's not happy to toast. I am VJ Adams, and you're rocking with VOP TV. Don't move.
Hi, people. Bisola here, and you are watching VOP TV. Mwah.
Shout out to VOP TV. It's so good to have you on the red carpet of AV. Love you all. Wishing you all the best.
Here's a shout out to VOP TV. It's your girl April Oshidikwe at the AV premiere. You know what it is.
Hi everyone, my name is Linda Ejiofor Suleiman, and I'm live at the EV premiere. Keep watching VOP TV.
I want to say hello to my Italian friends. I want to say them that Nigeria is the best country in the world, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, my name is Tomo Atebe. I'm an actor, and you guys are live on VOP TV. Keep it locked, because I said so.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your girl Folu Storms out here, and this is a big shout out to VOP TV.
Hi guys, my name is Charles Bourne.
My name is Lydia Lawrence Nze.
Please
and
keep watching Voice of the People Television. Love ya.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not a spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more, tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. This powerful statement by the first U.S. President, George Washington, emphasizes that learning is not merely a pathway to an end, but a continuous process that shapes individuals, broadens perspectives, and defines experiences. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Edu Dialogue on Voice of the People Television, the program where we take a critical look at developments in the education sector, analyze policies and reforms, as well as spotlight innovations, shaping the future of learning in Nigeria and beyond. I'm Matthew Ogunswada. On today's program, we examine the relevance of the proposed introduction of a learner identification number as the federal government announces plans to scrap the junior secondary school common entrance examination. Additionally, we'll bring you top stories making headlines in Nigeria's education sector. But first, let's begin with our opening conversation of the day. The federal government has announced plans to scrap the junior secondary school common entrance examination and introduce a learner identification number to track pupils from primary school throughout their academic journey. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, disclosed this during an interactive session with journalists in Lagos. According to the minister, the proposed reforms are aimed at improving access to education and ensuring effective tracking of pupils across the country. He explained that the common entrance examination will be phased out and replaced with a more comprehensive evaluation system. Additionally, He stated that the new system will rely on continuous assessment, which will reflect each pupil's performance from primary 1. He further noted that pupils transferring from one school to another will carry their assessment records along to their new schools. Furthermore, the minister emphasized that the initiative will address existing gap in the transition from primary to secondary school, particularly the high number of pupils who fail to progress to the next level. Now, joining me to unpack this conversation is Lawal Ekundayo. Lawal Ekundayo is an educationist and public affairs analyst. Good afternoon, Lawal, and thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Good afternoon.
All right, we are very glad to have you join us. Virtually on the program, I have Godsent Ugbebo. Godsent Ugbebo is a lecturer at the Miva Open University and also an education rights activist. Good afternoon, Godsent. We are very glad to have you join us on Edu Dialogue.
Good afternoon, Matthew. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Let me begin with you, Godsent. What is your overall assessment of this new policy, and how significant is this policy for the education sector?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. So basically, this policy is certainly ambitious, right? Because one thing is that I'm a person that stands for when one is doing a thing, do it rightly. So in as much as we can easily, just come up with certain policies, it should be that there are reasonable backings to these policies and to ensure that it makes sense and can stand the test of time. So this policy seems a little bit ambiguous and ambitious, but I'm not sure if it addresses the fundamental challenges facing Nigeria's education system, if we're taking a look at it from that standpoint, because this is the education sector, right? We have several other sectors that suffer from a lot of nonsensical actions and ideas. But talking about this from the education system, I feel it doesn't address the fundamental challenges and need facing the Nigeria's education system. Because, while tracking students through a learner identification number, could be useful. Of course, this could be useful, but it feels more like a quick fix to deeper problems. We have deeper problems that one can just easily sit down on, understand. Then when you understand that very deep problem, when you start operating from the root, because one thing is that when you tend to, face the fruits, because everything that we are seeing now based on the downturn of the education system in Nigeria, it started from a seed, but now what the government is trying to do is by addressing its fruit, which is not done. So in order for a proper policy to be made that will make sense, one, stand the test of time, two, and have, this robust testimony, is that this quick fix must not be done by addressing its fruit first. Because when you address its fruit, there's every tendency that as far as the root is still gaining grounds underneath, it will definitely germinate other fruits. So we are just trying to fix a small problem whilst there remains a big problem, that if that deeper problem is fixed, I bet you these fruits that we see now would definitely eliminate itself. It will just, dematerialize. Now, the education system in Nigeria suffers from overcrowded classrooms, right? From poor infrastructure and undertrained teachers. I was
about asking Godsent that since you are now using metaphor and booth personification to talk to us, I wanted to ask about the challenges grappling the education sector.
Okay, yeah. So, the challenges grappling the education sector, I think I'm going to look at this first from the area of the rural areas. Yes, especially from the rural areas, right? Because, schools in rural areas might struggle with the infrastructure needed to support continuous assessment. We have seen that every time. This is not something that is gainsaid. So limited access to technology, revolves around the rural areas, especially. This stands tall as a major challenge. Access to technology. How can we get access to technology, and how can we get access to recent technology? Not that when the world seems to be, other countries seems to be faster than us, we tend to be at their back trying to now think that we have arrived or we have the latest things. We must be up to date based on technology, and this is one of the greatest challenge that stand tall in the education system. And another is unreliable electricity. It is very poor. It is very poor because you can't put students or learners in a certain environment that is, one, not conducive, and two, ventilation is less. And sometimes we tend to make excuses saying that we can, we can manage, or we can. I think the word that revolves around the thoughts and mouth of Nigerians is adaptability. That, we can easily adapt. There are certain things that must be fixed. If not, adapting would seem as though we are chained and we are suffering and we are pushing and trying our best to ensure that something good comes out of us. Which, if all these basic things are fixed, all these basic challenges are fixed, I bet you will see the education system in Nigeria stand tall. So if we have unreliable electricity and then we have poorly trained teachers, this is one thing that we keep hammering on. Poorly trained teachers could make it difficult too. The education system would be so difficult. And then when we try to implement these new systems effectively, it will not be effectively. It won't, because of the problems and challenges that we have. So there's also the issue of consistent record keeping. This goes beyond the rural areas, even urban too. All right, consistent record keepings, and also rural schools may also lack, the systems needed to track and store continuous assessment data properly. So in as much as we are, like taking these challenges or talking about challenges that revolves around schools or education system in Nigeria, we should always and also incorporate and have in mind the rural areas. Yeah, because this is not just about the urban, this is not just about the city, this is not just about the place that is, well developed. If you are talking about implementing a thing, your focus should not just be urban areas. You should also focus on the rural also. So because if there is no integration of these areas in mind, I bet you students would suffer, teachers would suffer, and then we tend to now, blame ourselves in the end because the government refused to do the needful appropriately.
It's interesting to see that you have mentioned some challenges that might be grappling with rural areas and the challenges that might face, especially in implementing this new system. But I want you to talk about the role of the government right now. How can the government ensure that transparency is well accounted for? And what do you think should be the role of the government in ensuring transparency and preventing the manipulation of continuous assessment records?
Okay. Thank you very much for this question, Mr. Matthew. So, the government could, easily ensure transparency by implementing random adults and involving third-party organizations to monitor assessment records based on this policy. Do you get? So the government could ensure transparency by implementing random audits, random audits, right? Random audits and involving third parties. Because, if there's no third party, if there's no one or a certain organization who would serve as a check party, just like we have the media out there, we checkmate. We are more like, we are in the middle. We are between the law and we are between, the people. So we are at the middle. So
and you even have some organizations that monitor activities of media as well. You have the National Broadcast Academy, you have the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, you have the Federal Communications Commission, and a whole lot of organizations, the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, that also monitors the activities of the media.
Yeah, so if you check, now that shows to you that when it comes to checkmating should not revolve around just a certain side alone. It must be holistic. It must go around, it must touch every sector and every personality. No one is special, including the government. No one is special, right? So because now schools should be required to maintain detailed records that can be reviewed at any time. Now, if you look at it from this standpoint, if the government refused to do certain things, I bet you even the schools, it will be hard for them to function. It will be hard for them to function. So in order for the government to ensure transparency and prevent manipulation in continuous assessment records is that having now, invited third-party organizations and also implementing random audits, one thing that they would also do is to empower schools so that schools can now be able to maintain detailed records that can be reviewed at any time, and a strong feedback loop that involves, parents, communities, could also ensure accountability. I think this is what they call, in school then, this PTA meeting.
Parent-teacher association.
Right? Because you have to, incorporate and bring in teachers, and parents, guardians into the system so that accountability can be met. So if the government can now implement random audits and then try involving third-party organizations that can serve as checkers to checkmate whatsoever thing that is being done, and then the government must in turn empower schools so that schools can now have that capacity to be able to maintain records that can be viewed at any time. Not that when the government now intend to, check certain records, the school would give a response as to, we don't have this. At any time, we don't have this, do not connote at any time. And if you really take a look at it from a detailed standpoint, if that school would want to give a thorough response, they will even go as far to tell you that the government did not provide, in as much as this policy was passed. So before you pass a certain policy, you must use the eagle's eyes, more like an area view, to ensure that every other aspect that would revolve around that policy or that would concern that policy also gain momentum and also gain support, not just implementing a thing and then you are leaving teachers behind, you are leaving schools behind, nobody is empowered, nobody is supported, there's no assurance for quality control of the end results that this policy would bring or would actually now ascertain when it comes to the education system. So that is actually my take on how government can ensure transparency
and also
in concomitance with this policy.
And also implementation. Let me bring this conversation to the studio, Mr. Lawal. And we are looking at the fact that the federal government has now announced a new policy to scrap the junior secondary school 3 examination. Tell us your overall assessment of this policy, and how do you think the introduction of the learner identification number will improve data tracking and educational planning in Nigeria?
Now, one thing about education is that whatever you do has consequences in the society. In fact, it shapes the next generation of that society. Those who will take over. So that's why we are always very careful when it comes to making policies in education. Education policies must first be scrutinized by experts. There has to be researches being done, a lot of seminars being done about it, conferences, before they will now see whether this policy is what they should go ahead with or fine-tune it or we should scrap it. But I have not seen where all these criteria have been, all these processes have been used in formulating these new policies. And it's very, very dangerous. It's very dangerous because the moment it is implemented, you can't bring it back. Those who have used that policy, you can't bring them back and say, no, we have to, because it didn't work, we have tried it. No, that's why we have that pilot. So they have not seen where the government did their, research, where did they do this? Before bringing it up, it's very dangerous. That's one thing. It's very dangerous. The second thing is that policy, I don't really, to me, I've not seen any reason why that policy should be used. Because, one, the way we do our systems here is so porous. If you get to schools, you really see where, there's maybe, I don't want to use the word, falsification of this scores.
Records, academic records.
Yes,
Continuous
it's academic records. You see, so when you now begin to say you want to scrap this exam, this general exam, you leave room for loopholes. They can just, a student may not attend school for through other primary school, and a school will falsify a result and they present it.
But this policy is for junior secondary school 3, probably the one we probably know as junior WAEC. And let's now look at continuous assessment. Do you think that continuous assessment will effectively replace standardized exam in measuring students' performance?
No, see, all of them are supposed to work together. That's why
both continuous assessment and standardized exam.
You know why? Because if you use only continuous assessment, that's why I say I've seen schools where they falsify results every now and then. I see where they are not consistent. I see where they don't even do continuous assessment. It's only exams they do. I mean, test and exam. Whereas continuous assessment involves so many things like
even practical,
your maybe laboratory activities, your participation in class. You attend class, you write notes, you do assignments, and so many other things.
Are you saying that is what continuous assessment should be about?
That's what it's. That's what it is. That's the standard. That's why they call it continuous assessment. Continuous. Even when you answer questions in class, you get marked. When you ask questions from teachers, you get marked. That means you are following the lesson. That's why they call it continuous. So you'll be getting like 5 mark across board. They will now use that to assess you. That's why it's called continuous. So from the day you start the term to the end of the term, you'll be assessed regularly by bits and pieces of different assessment, and then they will now collate it at the end and then see what you have scored. That's why they call it continuous assessment. But now it's like most are doing tests. It's only tests. One test, second test, that's all. That is totally not continuous assessment. But you see, it's being done.
So you're saying there's a clear difference between the continuous assessment and the tests?
Yes.
Or there should be what the continuous assessment should contain. That it should be a recurring test for students.
Yes. In fact, that's why it's called test. That you are observing whether that student, like maybe you bring activities to the class. The teachers, the students must show that they are part of that thing you are doing, and then you assess them. Those who didn't show the sign very well, you score them low. Those who showed the sign very well, you score them high. You get in advanced research, we call it qualitative research. It's qualitative. We have quantitative and qualitative. So that qualitative means that you do regular observation, all this process, observation, participation, whatever. That's what you use. You collate everything together and then use it to assess. You get it? But we don't have that. It's not standardized now in Nigeria. Second, that general exam is very, very important in our system. Do you know why? Because it makes school to be serious. It's that by the time you are having your GSS 3 exam, you see they will do revision. Teachers, everybody, they will have to do revision for you because they know that if they are lacking, the student will not do well. So the school did not want them not to do well. So they will now do a revision. So all those places they have missed, they will be able to brush the students up in that revision. But if you scrap it, they will just let it go. So that by the time the students are taking their WAEC, they have so many lapses. You get it? So many lapses in what they have taught them. And then the student will not do it. That's why you see all these issues of examination malpractice that is not leaving our system.
What should students even do to reduce examination or to stop examination malpractice? What should be the role of the students? What should be the role of the teacher? What should be the role of the community as large to stop the prevalent examination malpractice? Because it's not only common in primary school, but from primary even to the tertiary institutions.
Yes. Now, the role of the government, you have not heard that.
Please go ahead.
The role of the government. Now, let me start with it. The government passed an electoral law in which they said that as falsification of results,
certificate
forgery will not be used for disqualifying a candidate or maybe somebody who has already been,
who wants to aspire for a political.
No, he has already been elected. So you can't use it. You can see that is a dent to our education system.
Is that compared to examination malpractice?
Yes. No, you know why? Because the student will not be safe. If you tell them, if you cheat, there will be consequences. They will tell you which consequence. The moment I get into political office now, nothing will happen to me.
Even if I cheat, if I cheat,
I don't even need to go to school. The moment I get that certificate, I find myself in political office, nothing will happen to me.
But that shouldn't be a yardstick for examination malpractice.
No, because you don't encourage the student now. You have given them loophole that their effort is meaningless.
So you're saying the government should even fix the law first?
Yes, now, because that is the beginning. Okay, you want to be you as a role model for to your children. You are maybe somebody who is a thief. How do you encourage your student not to steal? Is it possible? When they know that you are stealing, do you get it? But when you put it at the front first, the government put it that these are the consequences that we face up there. Do you think it will be easy for a student? We cannot use that as an example. That do you know what happened to so person? He was elected, but because of a certificate forgery, it was removed and it was sanctioned for it by the government. The student will be serious. They'll be afraid. You get it?
Well, we've had a lot of some political appointees resign. For example, Minister Uche Nnaji resigned because of alleged certificate forgery from the UNN. We also have some political appointees as well that have resigned, that have denounced their position. We also had the case of Mrs. Kemi, the former minister, who also resigned based on certificate forgery, NYSC. Yes, we also exactly, and a whole lot of other people. But that shouldn't justify examination malpractice in school. I love the fact that you have highlighted the role of the government, which is quite pivotal. The role of the government cannot be emphasized, especially the role of the lawmakers in ensuring that these laws are not only passed, but they are implemented. I want you to tell us about fixing this loophole from the government and then down to the students. The role of the government in fixing this loophole, the role of the students in fixing this loophole, and the role of the community, the parent as well, to ensure that the menace of examination malpractice is reduced across the country and beyond. Please go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that these are stages. The government, what they do, because government is the one making laws, making policies and implementing all these things. We want to see you at the front so that we can use that as a yardstick to encourage the student to do the right thing. We can use it as a consequence. That look at what happens to so person when he forged results. Like look at that case of Uche in Nigeria. Yeah. If it's not treated, you know that it's going to affect the performance of most of the students in that university and across the country. Because they will say, after all, somebody who did it.
In fact, the university had to issue a statement. UNN had to issue a statement.
And up to now, even the person has faced the law and is facing the consequence by law now for forgery. You know that it will also help to curb this examination malpractice because you'll be able to tell the students that look at what happened to so person. If you do it and you are caught, you are gone. But now, if there's no consequence and you have a law, now, the government is now making a law, to now make it something that is right to be done. That, what if you forge certificate, you can still escape through the government. The government will still give you protection because already you made a law to protect your certificate forgery. Do you think the student will be serious? They'll stop being serious. Do you know what to face at school? If a student didn't write his note, you have to find a consequence. The student must face a consequence.
For not writing notes.
For not writing notes.
For not attending classes.
For not attending class. You have to face consequence. Even if you didn't do well, you have to face consequence. Maybe you have to take extra time from the teacher to brush you up. But do you think the student will be serious when he knows that there is a government law that protects certificate forgery? That the moment you forge a certificate and then you are elected, nothing will happen to you. The student will not be serious.
The moment you bypass all those other stages.
And then the moment you get to that, nothing will happen to you. And then the student will say, why am I doing this? They will ask you now, why am I after so person forged certificate is now maybe
minister
a governor or president or maybe minister and nothing happened to him. So why do you want me to why are you forcing me when it's not even respected in Nigerian law? And then what are you going to say as a teacher? There's nothing else you can say now because he has already defeated you. That even the larger society is accepted. You get it? It's like mode of dressing. And they see adults dressing, like this, and then you want the child to dress differently. They will say, but so and so person are dressing that way now, and they are older than me. So why should I do the same thing? So what role is the government? The government has a lot of role to do because they are the one monitoring everybody. They are the one making law. They are the one implementing the law. You get it? Before you now come down, so that we can have something to tell the students, to encourage them in the good ones, and to discourage them from the wrong ones.
Let's now talk about the role of the students as well, because if you talk about the role of the government, the students also have a part.
Yes.
You wouldn't say because some people have escaped certificate forgery, you also will not face your book. I am a proud alumnus of the University of Lagos. I graduated with a distinction in mass communication from the University of Lagos. I didn't forge, and I didn't do any form of examination scandal. Even when I saw some of my colleagues do that in school, I didn't do it. So I'm still saying, even though I know that they are this low, I know that during that time when I was doing my master's degree in the University of Lagos, I know that there are some people in the government officials or in the government position that had certificate surgery. But I didn't say because of that, I went ahead to do examination malpractice. So that's why I'm asking you. Now you've talked about the role of the government, coming up with policies that should ensure that everyone is well regulated. What should be the role of the student to ensure that they don't forge or they don't involve in examination malpractice?
Do you know why we call it education? The reason why we call it education is that we are, preparing these children to fit into the society. Do you get it? That is the basis of education, is to prepare them to fit into the society and promote the society while promoting themselves. Now, we need role models. They need role models. We need something to be able to tell them to emulate. It's very important because that's why if you look at all your books, you'll be seeing people who make discoveries first before they talk about that concept. You hear that in science, you hear Dalton's atomic theory, you hear something like Avogadro's law. You see what they do first, and then you use that as a yardstick to encourage those students to do the same. You can see. Now, there must be a role model. Teachers must be role model for the students. Other students must be role, like you'll be role model for some other students. That's why you give something like award, scholarship to students who have outstanding performances. It's a way of giving them a role model. That see somebody who did very well, he can get reward, positive reinforcement, so that it can continue. You get it. So if you do the same thing, you too can get reward. So you get enticed, you want to get into that stream. So those role models from the government, we must have role models. From the teachers, we must have role models. You see some teachers, when they come to the student class, students want to come in. Even you see students who are not doing that subject, they will come in, they say, what? Sorry, sir, I enjoy your class. I want to listen. That's why you have electives in universities. They will say, pick electives.
Yeah, call an elective.
So sometimes you pick a teacher based on the fact that the way he explains, the way he talks, because it's something like very brilliant in that area. So students enjoy him. So he acts as a role model, encouraging students to do well, perform well. You get it? Then you now see students too as a role model for students. In class, students who are doing very well and they are rewarded, or maybe clap for them, or maybe you make them in an institution, HOS, head of study, or in class, you make them class captain. It encourages others, into that area too. So all these things work together. That exam, I don't want them to scrap it, because it's a way of making schools to be serious, to fill up their lapses for that period before the exam. If you remove that thing, they will just create loopholes to the end.
That's especially from GSS1.
Yes, you see schools falsified. There are some schools in which they use, you see they write international school, whereas they are using maybe a flat. Some you are using maybe 3-bedroom. They write international school.
Model college.
Now, what do you think will come out of that school? But the moment you create that exam, there's always a general exam.
At the end of every...
Yes, 3 years. That exam will show your performance to the parents that either you are serious or you are not serious. Because if the student didn't do well, they will say that your student is not serious. So
and I also think it's junior secondary school exam that they used to place you either in art, science, or commercial.
But now everything is destabilized. I did GSS exam. It was fun. As of that time, the schools are always very, very serious. They'll do revision from year 1, GSS 1, GSS 2, GSS 3. In fact, they'll focus on revision to be able to bring you up. They'll do a test. They'll do these practicals, introductory practicals. They'll do basic science practical. They'll do all those things because they know that that general exam, they don't care whether you don't teach them or you teach them. It's going to expose your school that you are not doing well. So all of them will buckle up. But the moment you scrap it, that loophole will just continue. They'll just continue to the end. That's what we don't remove it. I remember in those days when we were before I was even born, we have this primary school exam, primary 6 exam from primary 1 to 6. You see that primary 6 is like our secondaries, our SS now, because in those days you see the way they teach them. Because they know they are going to take exam. Even somebody who finished primary school can work as a clerk. Do you remember then? People, they work as clerk, they work as secretary in office. Some of them from primary school, they begin to graduate to the level in which they become, a senior staff. Because as of that time, they know you are going to take primary school exam. And that primary school exam can get you somewhere. So it makes them to be serious to teach you effectively compared to now in which they move everything to GSS 3. Now, those things, those seriousness that you have, those standard in primary 6 has already been moved to GSS 3. If you now scrap that GSS, you now got that your SS3, the standard of your SS3 will fall down to your primary 6 standard. Because that's what we are facing now. If you go to school now, you see somebody in GSS 2, even in SS2 that cannot even write very well. And then you begin to wonder, how did you promote?
How did you get to SS2?
Yes. You can't even write. They can't write very well. They can't even spell very well. And then you wonder, how did you get to this place now?
So in other words, there should be additional measures that should be recommended to ensure that these reforms
so that exam should be there. It makes schools to be serious. In fact, sometimes they employ experts outside to teach them during that junior exam.
Well, it made me remember when I was writing my junior examination. I remember intro tech, I remember basic tech, basic science, basic technology, and because I passed all, I was, initially positioned to be in the sciences, but here we are. But this is how far we can go in this specific conversation, Mr. Lawal. Thank you so much. God sent, if you are still with us, thank you so much. You are still watching Edu Dialogue on Voice of the People Television. When we return, we examine the decision by the Kano State government to scrap the Ministry of Higher Education as part of effort to reposition the state education sector. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is Africa News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
Ever wonder what inspires your favorite gospel artists? Explore and discover the rich heritage of continental gospel music and how this transformative journey has evolved and shaped cultures around the world. As we dig deep into archival treasures, feel the energy in our praise jam, Gospel Fusion on Voice of the People Television. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. and be part of a transformative experience that uplifts and inspires. Join us as we explore the transformative power of gospel music and its ability to uplift spirits and unite hearts. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. on Voice of the People Television. Gospel Fusion. Let's fuse our hearts in praise and joy.
Behind every broken deck lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations, but who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
Hi, my name is Tosin Mohammed. I'm a gospel artist. Keep watching VOP TV.
Almighty Father, you are the mighty Redeemer. We've come to worship at your feet, oh Lord. This is Ayotunde Adejimo, chilling with you on the Voice of the People TV. Don't touch that remote. You are where God wants you to be. Listening to the Voice of the People TV.
The Bible says we should give thanks in all circumstances. And all circumstances include the good times and the bad, the high times and the low, the times when everything look as if they are going well, and those times when Enugbe, the ground is dry like the sand in the desert. Those times when you feel like giving up, you should give thanks still. My name is Jeff Melu, and I'm a gospel poet. And you should keep watching VOP TV. Don't touch that dial.
Yes, sir. Kábíyèsí Olúọ̀run, we were born to give you twale, to give you worship. People of God, you are watching Voice of the People TV, and my name is Flo Rocker. I encourage you to listen to things of the gospel. You know, we live in a very perilous times where there are some things you watch on television, you will lose faith, you will lose God. Keep your eyes on Voice of the People TV and remain blessed. Floroka says so. Kuzoshi.
My name is Tao Familoni, and here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arara, my name is Made Kuti, and you're watching VOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Chike Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
Welcome back to the program. If you are just joining us, this is Edu Dialogue on Voice of the People Television, where we explore education, personal development, and ideas shaping Nigeria's education sector and beyond. Now to our second conversation. The Kano State government has scrapped the Ministry of Higher Education as part of effort to reposition the state education sector. Governor Abba Yusuf approved the merger of the ministry with the State Ministry of Education, describing the move as a decisive move to strengthen coordination and accelerate reforms. In a statement by its spokesperson, Sanusi Bature, the governor explained that a specialized Directorate of Higher Education will now be created within the ministry to oversee the tertiary education. He added that the reform is aimed at reducing cost of governance while improving efficiency, accountability, and the overall quality of education administration in the state. And of course, I still have with me Lawal Ekundayo and Godsent Ugbebo to help us make sense of this new discussion. Let me begin with you, Godsent, if you are still with me. Tell us your overall assessment of this decision to scrap the Ministry of Higher Education in Kano State. And do you think that merging the Ministry of Education will truly improve coordination and efficiency in the sector? You can please unmute your device. Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for...
We are really struggling to hear Godsent, probably, but let me just take that question to Mr. Lawal. Mr. Lawal, do you think that merging the Ministry of Education will improve coordination? And then what's your assessment to scrap the Ministry of Higher Education in Kano State?
I don't think it's the best idea. I don't think it's the best thing.
Tell us your reason.
The reason is because when you merge, we have this junior secondary schools, we have the institution. When you merge them together, who is going to head the ministry is very important. If that person is somebody that doesn't really care much about the junior, the lower education system, that place will suffer. If the person doesn't really care about the higher institution education system, that place will suffer. That's why it's good to separate them. If you look at the reason the governor gave...
Yeah, the government says the move is designed to reduce the cost of governance. But how realistic do you think is that for expectations?
See, you can see, you want to do something like this majorly because you want to save money. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. If you want to save money, you cut down on governance. The expenses of the governance is what you need to cut down. How much are the ministers getting? How much are the agencies getting? How much is the government spending on recurrent expenditure and estaco? This is what you need to look at to reduce it. Reduce those ones, and the money will be available. But reducing this ministry, because you want to save money, and the ministry will not suffer eventually. Have you achieved anything? No.
So are there potential risks or downsides of collapsing a specialized ministry into a broader one?
See, the reason has already been defeated. The reason is, if you tell us that, okay, well, this ministry is not performing, it's a different case. You say you want to save money, and then you want to scrap something that is so good that you see is functioning in your system, that is in that state, because you want to save money. It doesn't sound like a good reason now to me. If you want to save money, there are other ways you can save money. It's either you save money by cutting down expenses of the government, because we know the Nigerian government is very expensive.
It's expensive to live in some parts of Nigeria. Some parts of Nigeria.
All of them are very expensive.
People are complaining about the high cost of fuel. People are complaining about transportation and a whole lot of things that is affecting citizenry right now. So you're not wrong.
The government is just busy about itself. Now, you now want to, because you want to save money, you now cut the ministry. Now, when you cut that there, when you scrap the ministry, you now merge it. That section of the ministry will now suffer. That sector of the government, the community, the state will suffer because you want to cut your money. The question is, do you have all your, if you want to scrap it, do you have all your government officials attending that school, their children attending that school? Many of them, most of them will take their children out of the state and take them abroad, to school. And then you are scrapping to save money. Now, the reason is defeated. You should go and sit down and think very well, because the reason is defeated. That's what I'm saying. If you ask me, why do you want to do this? You are giving us a reason that is not what's supposed to be. Then you can't scrap that ministry. You can either, there are two ways by which a state can majorly generate money.
Which is your opinion right now?
Yes, my opinion. It's either you cut down on the expenses of the government, or you find a way to generate more money for the government.
But how do they generate more money?
You have state resources. See, one thing is this: you are selling something. If you make 1 naira and you sell for large number of people, and then you make 10 naira and sell to small number of people, you still make less. So if you increase tax, you still make less, because many people will migrate from your state. But if you reduce tax, you encourage businesses, you make it a free place in which people can conduciously do business. And I know your state will grow.
Kano is a commercial area. Kano is a commercial area.
But when they brought in that Sharia, there was a problem. You get it? Because they were breaking some, they don't want some companies, like a company manufacturing alcoholic drinks, from that. So they were breaking their budget and everything. So, of course, your revenue is supposed to drop. The people who are employed will not get employed, because those companies will have to move away from that area, because you have a law that doesn't make them to strive. Kano is a very, very, they are so big, they still have more land.
I think it has more than 44 local government area, or up to 44 local government area.
So what is each local government generating? The local government are more than Lagos now. So if you have a local government and the local government is not supporting itself, it's not generating anything, why is it a local government, for God's sake? So if you have a local government, is it agriculture we can do here? Is it cattle rearing?
That would also help the education ministry.
Yes.
And not only the education ministry, other ministry as well.
Yes.
That is in that state. So it's a collective responsibility.
Yes. So scrapping this is not the point. Reduce, my own thing is that, one, reduce cost of governance, which we know across the states is very, very high. You get it? Reduce cost of governance. Across Kano
or across all states?
All states.
In Nigeria.
Yes, plus the federal government. Reduce cost of governance. Then encourage, put proper laws there that will make businesses to strive. That is where you can generate resources. And then your ministries will be made. Because let me tell you something. The Ministry of Lower Education, which we call secondary school, primary secondary school, is very fundamental. Because whatever you produce from that primary secondary school is what will go to higher institution. It's the same thing that will go to the society.
So it shouldn't be meshed with Ministry of Higher Education. It's a different work.
Yeah, it's supposed to be self-reliant.
What you're saying is that what primary school do, what secondary school do, is quite distinctive to what universities do.
Yes.
And what the Ministry of Education in the primary and secondary school, what they do or their role, is quite different from what Ministry of Education in the higher education, what they do. So Ministry of Education in the lower region, I think that in Lagos it can be compared to 6 education districts. You have Education District 1, Education District 2, Education District 3, 4, 5, and 6. Thank you so much, Mr. Lava. But let me come to you, Godson, while we wrap up this conversation. In terms of policy implementation, how do you foresee the challenges in this new structure? And then how do you think this decision would affect stakeholders like university administrators, university lecturers, and students? Because I know you are a lecturer.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for these questions, Mr. Matthew. And so in answering the very first question you asked, about in terms of policy implementation. So my answer to the foresee challenges with this new structure is yes, because there will be significant challenges. And the reason is because the role ambiguity is one of the issues. Role. So what is the role of this policy implementation? Right? Because university administrators and faculty will likely face uncertainty, about who has the authority to make decisions, right? Regarding
because it's now the same, it's now
program
merged.
approvals.
Please go
Exactly.
ahead.
Program approvals and policy changes. So this could create confusion. It would create a lot of conundrum in the university system, and it would also slow down the decision-making pace. The process of decision-making will be so menial in that, which is crucial. And decision-making is very crucial. It's very crucial in any and every organization. Take, for example, the higher institution and higher education. So the director will likely be under-resourced and overburdened. And in the long run, it may not have the political support, right? Because one thing that coming from my own perspective, that the government always do is that whenever they implement a thing, they just throw it to the people and they leave it. There's no support. Support won't come from the government, right? So if this thing would not have, political support, it needs to effectively manage the unique challenges of higher education.
Yeah.
So if the directorate is not given sufficient power, for example, it will be unable to make critical decisions quickly enough, because you have to wait for the government. Decision making will be slow, and this could lead to delays and disruptions within the universities or polytechnics, as it were. So the resistance from stakeholders is another key challenge. Universities, faculty members, and students may feel marginalized in this new structure, and this would definitely lead to frustration and even protest if we are not careful, right? And talking about the how might this decision now affect stakeholders such as university administrators, lecturers, and the likes, is that the decision could have negative consequences for all stakeholders in education, in higher education. Now, because university administrators,
please go ahead.
Yes, university administrators will face delays in securing funds
and even getting
for new
promotions as well, because there is a difference between a teacher and a lecturer. For you to lecture, I think you need to get to the PhD level to continue to get to certain cadre, to continue to get to certain promotion level. For a teacher, you can probably do bachelors and masters, and continue being a teacher. But for you to continue that, and then the ministries are now meshed together. The education, higher education, who makes decisions? But I want to just appreciate you because of time, God sent. Because of time. If it was not because of time, we would actually continue the conversation. But I really want to appreciate you. God sent to Bebo is a lecturer at the Miva Open University, and he's also an education rights and activist. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, and we look forward to having you some other time. All right, joining me on the program here in the studio, I have Lawal Ekundayo. Lawal Ekundayo is an educationist and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for coming, Lawal.
Thank you.
All right, just still watching Edu Dialogue on Voice of the People Television. We'll take another quick break and return with top stories in Nigeria's education sector. Do join us again.
Join us on People's Voice, where we amplify the voice of those that matters the most. Join the conversation. Share your thoughts with me. I am Xavier Udo. Weekdays, Monday through Friday, from 4 p.m. to 5. Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns. Thank you.
2564 is coming up on Burning 9, right?
2564 Atlantic Tower.
What happens in the hush behind hangar doors? Who signs the papers that gamble with lives? Which truths were grounded before they even ever had wings? If you've ever buckled a seatbelt at 30,000 feet, if you've ever stared out of that tiny window and wondered who's really in control of the skies, it isn't just flight, it's power, it's politics, it's pressure sealed in steel. We're peeling back the clouds from runway risks to sky-high secrets. We're diving deep where most dare not to look. Aviation Scope, every Sunday at 7 p.m. only on Voice of the People TV. We don't just report, we reveal. We don't just ask, we uncover. Because when it comes to the skies, ignorance is turbulence. Aviation Scope, the sky isn't the limit, it's just the beginning.
On Edu Dialogue, we bring you fresh ideas and conversations, shaping the future of learning in Nigeria and beyond.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters.
I am Jerry Arpillon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please discuss.
You blessed the boy, the girl is fine, nice and beautiful. Hello everybody, my name is Mike Abdul. Keep watching VOP TV. God bless you real good.
Hi guys, my name is Abiodun, also known as Minister Abe. I just want you to keep watching VOP TV. God bless you.
Oretolu Amishe is a banger. My name is Yomi Olabisi Yomi Akpala. Keep watching VOP TV. Baba ti sọ̀rọ̀ mi dayọ̀, ẹ wá bá mi yọ̀, mo more. Thank you, Daddy. Mio. Hello guys, my name is Tosibi. Keep watching VOP TV. VOP TV. God bless you.
Mo gbé ọ̀gá o, mo gbé ọ̀gá o, olódodo lọ́nà gbogbo. Mo gbé ọ̀gá o. Hello, people of God. This is your favorite girl, Mosu Exalta. Keep watching VOP TV, and you will be blessed. Love you.
Etobi gan, Etobi Olua. Hello everyone, my name is T Praise and I'm here telling you, keep watching VOP TV. Don't change that dial. We are here. Jesus is here. Glory. How glory. Iru you see ways. Sure, don't mind my voice. I've gone so many places today. View. Okay, oh la la. Okay, wait. Hello, Lagos, Nigerians. My name is Minister K Wonder. Please keep watching VOP TV. Don't touch that out.
Glad to have you join us again. Let's now bring you top stories in Nigeria's education sector. The University of Lagos, UNILAG, has inaugurated its reinstated Student Union Executive Council, marking the return of student unionism a decade after its suspension. The union was suspended on April 24, 2016, following protests over welfare issues, including water and electricity shortages, which the university said threatened campus stability. However, the institution restored the union in March after successfully conducting elections into key positions. At the swearing-in ceremony held at the Tayo Ademioku Hall, Vice-Chancellor Professor Folashade Ogunshola charged the newly elected executive to see their roles as a call to service. She also emphasized responsible leadership, describing the development as a significant step in strengthening governance and student engagement within the university. Let's also tell you that the Lagos State government has introduced a new assessment process for senior officers in parastatal organizations as part of its 2026 promotion exercise. Under the newly introduced structured evaluation assessment programs, officers on grade levels 12 to 16 will now undergo written examination and computer-based tests before they can be considered for promotion. This marks the first time a formal assessment of this nature will be required for senior officers in parastatal organizations. Additionally, the government says the initiative aligns with its commitment to building a merit-driven public service where promotions are based on competence, capacity, development, and performance rather than years of service alone. And that's a wrap on Edu Dialogue on Voice of the People television. Today, we've examined the federal government plans to scrap the junior secondary school certificate examination and the decision by the Kano State government to scrap the Ministry of Higher Education. From digital inclusion to empowerment, it's clear that the future of our nation depends not just on access to education, but on the quality of knowledge, skills, and opportunities available to learners. For more insights and in-depth discussion, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and across all social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. If you witness news or events in your communities, we'd love to hear from you. Please share your eyewitness reports, event coverage requests, photos or videos with us on WhatsApp on 0814-606-4057. You can also reach our newsroom via email at news@vop.ng. I'm Matthew Ogunswada. Join us next week as we continue to spotlight the ideas, policies, and people shaping Nigeria's education sector. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and remember that education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Arpayon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please the sport.
And it's Hakim Ziyech who puts the
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count. Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging one-hour program that brings political discourse into focus.
I am Chukwuma Okoro.
Political Lens, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Join us.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is Africa News on Voice of the People television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues Your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television.